Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation we're going to take a look at how we can go about doing some email header analysis. Analyzing email headers is one of the most common tasks in digital forensics, but regardless if you're a digital forensics investigator or you just happen to be a network administrator trying to fine-tune the policies on your Exchange server, being able to read and analyze the header information in email makes that job a whole lot easier. So before we get started, let's go over some of the terms we're going to be using in this short lesson. We're going to start off with the Sender Policy Framework. So SPF is a framework to prevent sender address forgery. In addition, the SPF field describes mail servers that are allowed to send messages for the given sender domain. The result, received SPF, can be neutral, pass, or fail, but this is not always the case. The SPF should not be used to confirm legitimacy of any email. The following is an example from a fake email. So here we see that the SPF comes back with a neutral response to the Google receiving server. They neither wanted to quarantine the message, nor did they want Google to reject the message. So they just came back with a neutral response. Now the next term we need to look at is the Domain Keys Identified Mail, or DKIM. DKIM is a method used to associate a domain name to an email. DKIM allows an organization to check cryptographically the signature to ensure untampered transmit of the message and true ownership of the message. Not every email is going to have this feature. So the idea behind SPF and DKIM is to stop emails from being relayed, or to stop and prevent their domain being seen as a spammer. So to prevent this from happening, you can use authentication to confirm that the server that sent the email was authorized to do so. But if DKIM is missing, this only indicates that the sender was not using the protocol, and not all senders, legit or otherwise, will use DKIM. But no DKIM and no SPF means there will be no DMARC. So DMARC is what ties us all together. The Domain-Based Message Authentication and Reporting DMARC Security Email Protocol leverages DNS and uses the Sender Policy Framework SPF and Domain Keys Identified Mail DKIM open protocols to verify email senders. So if the sender's domain information inside of the email's header does not match what's in the From field, which the recipient sees when they receive the email, well, that's a flag, and that tells DMARC that, hey, this did not actually come from the server that is being portrayed inside of the header. So the email is received. Now, is the DMARC protocol being implemented by the sender? Yes or no? If it's not, then that email is going to go straight into the mailbox, and it's going to use the filters that are in the sender's mailbox, the inbox, to decide what to do with it. Now, if DMARC is implemented, then we have to determine whether or not DMARC validation passes or fails. So if the DMARC validation fails, then we have to go over and look at the DMARC policy. But if it passes, then the email is just going to be sent straight through to the user's mailbox. And what happens to an email when it does not pass the inspection all depends on the policy settings on the sender's server. So if the sender is concerned about reputation, if that sender is not approved, or that IP address from which it was sent is not approved, then go ahead and reject it. Or tell the receiver to go ahead and quarantine it. But they can also just say, hey, we don't care, go ahead and just send it on through. But when DMARC is implemented on the sender's receiver, they can also have a report of that offending email, and now they can figure out what they want to do with that offending IP address or that offending sender. They can either block that individual, or they can just say, from now on, if you receive anything from this particular IP address, go ahead and reject it. So in this example, I've just taken something out of my spam folder, and we're going to take and analyze the header of this email and see if we can figure out what is bogus and what is factual in this email. Well, right away we know something's up, because this email did not come from Zenith Bank. It actually came from a user calling themselves Dennis Olisa, but the mail server is actually located in Japan. And it's not going to get past the SPF or the DMARC if it is in place on the sending email server. In this case, I don't believe it was. So I'm going to use Google to verify some information in the email. So I can do a Google search on Zenith Bank, and I can also see if Dennis Olisa is an actual person. Well, here's the information on Zenith Bank, and we get some good information here about its worth and everything, and it's actually located over in Nigeria. So now I'm going to look up and find some information about our sender, Dennis Olisa. So here we're going to look up some biography information using Google. So I just typed in Dennis Olisa into the Google search bar, and it comes back and it gives me some bio information about this individual. And it comes back and it tells me that he is not the manager. He is actually the executive director for Zenith Bank. So next I wanted to see if I can find an image of this individual. And he's posted all over the internet. And this individual is actually legit. He is Dennis Olisa, and he is the president of the bank, Zenith Bank in Nigeria. So next we can start looking at the header information up inside of this spam email. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll on down here. I'm up inside of my Gmail. Now you can do the same thing up in Yahoo Mail. They have an application up there where you can actually look at the header information for the email. Now to do this in Google Mail, you have to go over here to the right. You're going to pull down your context menu, and you're going to click on where it says Show Original. Now that's going to bring up some summary information about the email in the top portion here. And we can see who it came from. And the SPF is neutral. And down here we see all of the header information. Alright, so what we're going to do next is we're going to copy all this to clipboard. So I've copied the header information to my clipboard, and now I'm going to go out to the internet, and I'm going to go to MX Toolbox. Now up inside of MX Toolbox, they also have an application that will analyze my email header. So I'm going to click on here where it says Analyze Headers. And in this text box here, I'm just going to Control V. And now we have pasted in my header information from that email. The next step is just to click here where it says Analyze Header. Now immediately it's going to come back and it's going to tell me that the DMARC was not compliant. That makes sense because it's obvious that the sending server does not have a DMARC policy in place. Again, all this information is just for authentication of the sender's domain. Now just because it fails authentication doesn't mean that the email is not legit. That's why we're up here and we're investigating or analyzing the email header. Moving down just a little bit, we come upon the relay information. And here we get the IP addresses and the names of the servers that were involved in sending this email. So this is where it came from. This is the IP address of the server it was sent to. This is another server it was sent to. Then it was sent back to the previous server. So let's go ahead and take a look at the SPF and the DKIM information. Now in this case there is none. So it just tells you that there was no DMARC record found on the sending server. Okay, that's great. That's not a problem. And since there was no DMARC, we don't expect to find a DKIM signature or anything to do with the SPF. And so since there was no SPF record found on the sender's server, we get the following message here. And it tells you that this sender is neither permitted nor denied by best guess record for the domain from which it was sent. So if we attempt to reply to this email, this is the email that it wants to use. Let's confirm if this is true. So I know this as the sender's email address. But if I try to reply, it comes back and it says the following. And down here we can see the sender is actually someone named n-santu@sanho.co.jp. So the next thing we want to do is verify the reputation or look at the reputation of this server that sent us the email. So I'm just going to grab the IP address right here. And I'm going to go up to a Cisco site called Talos Intelligence Group. And up here where it says Reputation Lookup, I can just Control V the IP address into that search bar. And then I can tell it to do a search. So it comes back and it tells me that the server is located in Japan and that the email reputation is very poor. And we get some other information about this email server, such as who owns it, the domain that it belongs to, the actual host name of the server, and is reverse DNS matching the IP address. And it says yes. Okay. So we scroll on down and we get some more information. And it belongs to a whole bunch of servers. It's one of many who all have either a neutral, good, or a poor reputation. So the next thing we want to do is see how close we can actually come to the location of the actual sender. Now to do this, we're going to use an IP locator. Now these are all over the internet. You can go up inside of Google, you can type in IP locator, and you're going to find dozens of them. They all have different features. They all have subscriptions, or some of them don't. I happen to like this one because it's easy to use and it gives me Google Maps. So I'm just going to type in that IP address that we're looking at. And it comes back and it tells me that this IP address is located in the city of Tokyo. And it gives me some other information about the ISP, the originating server. We got the longitude and the latitude if we want to put that into our GPS and travel there. So you see this red dot here. So I can click on that and I can get an actual location. I can start pinning in the location. But I can also go over here and I can bring up the satellite imagery of this location. So let's do that. And now I can go ahead and make this map even larger. And if I click on the red arrow here, it tells me where this server is actually located. And if I use my scroll wheel, I can just go ahead and start beaming in on this thing. And we see that the location is right here, supposedly, somewhere in there. But if we look over here, you're going to see a building. There's some buildings in the background, and I'm guessing this is the plaza or the location of where this server is actually located. It's going to be in one of these buildings here. So it says it's located in the, click on this here and see if we get some information here. I'm downtown Tokyo now. So here we are. So again, I'm inside of this Google Maps and I'm looking for this building here. So the building's name is Shunizuku and it's called Sumitomo Building. And that's where this server is probably located. So if I had the original sender's IP address, I could use this and I could come right down on top of the roof and actually see where that sender actually was when he sent the email. So if you get lucky, you'll look inside of that email header and you may find a received from user followed by the IP address. Now if that happens, you can take that IP address, just like that, and we're going to go back to our locator. And up here in our locator, we're just going to go ahead and input that IP address, and we're going to see where it takes us. So this sender was from the city of Manila. And we scroll on down here, and we see his location is right here. Now this looks more like a resident than it does a building. So you can click on that, and it'll take you in just a little bit closer. But again, let's go ahead and use the Google satellite imaging. And we're going to go ahead and enlarge the map. And again, we're going to use our scroll wheel to go ahead and enlarge this as much as possible. And we're starting to see that where the individual lives. So this individual here lives in this location. There's a car that's parked out there on the street, or it's just passing along on the street. And we're seeing the rooftop of this individual's residence. And here's the longitude and latitude that we can plug into our GPS, that we can actually go to this individual's house and see if it's actually the sender. But this could be a store, it could be a coffee shop, it could be a church, and there's a wireless network where he's gained access. And he could be living here, he could be living here. But using this method, we can pinpoint the location to where the email was sent. So when we talk about spam and phishing and malicious emails, this has got to be one of the best I've seen. This is a very carefully crafted email, and it checks all the boxes. We have a well formatted, using a template that actually belongs to USAID, and it's got a topic that pushes the buttons of a lot of people. Well, that's going to get a lot of people who don't like Donald Trump excited, and they're going to want to click on that because they're going to want to view those documents. So you can see where this kind of email coming into your system is going to be problematic, because this particular email came along with 4 different payloads. When the user clicked on View Documents, they got more than just documents. They got drive-by downloads that were instantly installed onto their machine. If you would like to look at the analysis of that particular email, you can go out to the Velexity site, and you can find it just by querying suspected APT29. That's the hacking group from Russia that launched that particular email. So in this short video presentation, we got to look at how we can perform some basic fundamental email header analysis, and we can get the IP address and the locations and find out some other information that pertains to the sender. We also learned how DMARC, SPF, and DMARC are used to authenticate the sender of an email message. So if you got questions or you have concerns about any of the information that was presented to you in this short video presentation, please don't hesitate to reach out, contact your instructor, and I'll see you in my next video.